The clock ticked past midnight. Silence pressed down on Alex. He sat up in bed, heart thudding, the phone. It was ringing. Who would call at this hour? He picked up the receiver, static. Then a voice, a whisper, cold and distant. It spoke his name. Alex. The voice seemed to echo around him, not just from the phone. A chill shot down his spine. He hung up, heart pounding. He had to know who it was. He used an app to trace the call. The result sent a shiver down his spine. Ravenwood Manor. Alex couldn't ignore this. He had to see who or what was behind the call. He grabbed his jacket and keys, a sense of dread washing over him. A blanket of fog had descended upon the town. Streetlights cast eerie shadows as Alex drove. Ravenwood Manor loomed ahead. The house stood on a hill, a silhouette against the moonlit sky. The iron gates creaked open. Weeds choked the driveway. The house was in ruins. Windows were boarded up, paint peeled from the walls. Alex parked the car some distance away. He stepped out, each footstep crunching on dead leaves. He couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. He walked towards the house, his breath misting in the cold air. As he reached the porch, the front door swung open with a groan. He hesitated, then stepped inside. Darkness enveloped him. The air was heavy with the smell of decay. Dust swirled in the faint moonlight, filtering through cracks in the boarded-up windows. He took a step forward. The floorboards creaked under his weight. He froze. Footsteps. He heard footsteps echoing from somewhere deep within the house. He followed the sound, his heart pounding in his chest. Each step was hesitant, unsure. The air grew colder, and the stench of decay intensified. He reached a room at the end of the hallway. The footsteps stopped. He pushed open the door, his hand shaking. The room was bare, except for a single chair in the center. Moonlight cast long, eerie shadows across the dusty floor. And on the chair, a phone. An old rotary phone, covered in dust. It looked exactly like the one in his dream, but that was impossible. This phone looked ancient. Alex reached out to touch it. As his fingers brushed against the cold metal receiver, it began to ring. The shrill ring echoed through the empty house. He jumped back, startled. The ringing stopped. Silence descended once more, but a new sound sent shivers down his spine, a soft whisper right next to his ear. Alex, he spun around. No one. He was alone, or was he? Panic surged through him. He had to get out of there. He turned and ran, stumbling through the dark house, his heart pounding in his ears. He burst out of the mansion and into the night. He didn't stop running until he reached his car. He jumped in, slammed the door and locked it. Gasping for breath, he fumbled for his keys and started the engine. As he sped away, he glanced back at the mansion, its silhouette receding into the fog. The phone on the passenger seat buzzed. It was a call from an unknown number. He hesitated, then picked up the phone. Static. Then the same cold whisper. Alex, you can't hide. Alex slammed the phone down, his blood running cold. He didn't know who or what was behind the calls, but one thing was certain. This was just the beginning.